really, as I tell my clients, that are departing, don't forget your passport, don't forget your toothbrush, and don't forget a huge dose of patience. Pack it with you, bring it with you. Be flexible. You have to. And in life in general, you have to be flexible, but especially when you're traveling, because things don't always go the way that they need to go.
Travel's an adventure.
Completely. It is an adventure and you need to embrace it. And also expectations.
Oh, yes.
If it's not meeting your expectations, change your expectations, because it is what it is, So you can't just amp it up in your mind to be something maybe that it's not.
Yes.
Or
they actually say expectations are not good, so maybe don't have it.
Correct, exactly.
Hi everyone, I'm Christina. Welcome to Without Borders, your ticket across the globe through the experiences of others. Today is our first ever episode. Our guest today is Diana Maiola, a successful American entrepreneur living here in Italy. Welcome, Diana.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you.
So today we're in Rome, in my apartment in Rome, and thank you so much for being so gracious to being the first guest on my podcast.
I'm honored. I am, and the apartment's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So the podcast Without Borders is what we're calling it. Basically, obviously going across borders, meeting with successful individuals in various different industries who have either lived in different countries or have had success in their businesses abroad. So I'm very excited to have you as my first guest, specifically for this reason, because of the success that you've had in your life up until now, and you'll continue to have.
Thank you.
I have to tell everyone that we do know each other because of the fact that you and my mom are best friends from childhood, right?
Exactly, yes.
You met when you were, how old?
Like 16.
16.
I held you when you were a baby.
When I was a baby.
Yes.
I know. My mom told me that she had you, try to give me all the good blessings and all the Italian love. So thank you.
Absolutely. Beautiful baby. Beautiful woman.
Thank you.
Definitely.
So I would love if you could tell us a little bit about yourself to start, and then I'll have some questions along the way.
Okay. Very good. So I'm Diana Maiola, and I was born in the United States in Cleveland, Ohio, grew up there, raised there by Italian-American parents. And growing up, of course, we had one foot in America, one foot in Italy, always, okay? Because I had one set of grandparents here in Italy and one set of grandparents in America. And so the traditions, the culture was very strong. And it was always about, I think, pleasing your parents, making them happy, not disappointing them. A little bit old-fashioned, but it was what it was. Education was very important, and doing something with your life, let's say, being productive, very important. And I had a love affair with Italy from the start. I always imagined myself living here. And in the beginning of my career, graduating from, a private Jesuit university, in French and political science, nothing to do with business at all. I got into recruiting, so I was kind of on the fringes of corporate America, let's say. And it was great because it gave me wonderful business practices. I learned the ins and outs of business and people and navigating all of that. It was a true education. It was a career, but it was really an education every day. And it was fine for about 10 years. And then I said, I'm a creative person. I really want to do something that's creative. I want to do something with a product or service that has to do with Italy. Okay. And so I started my first business, basically, importing fine jewelry from Italy because I loved jewelry and I had my own line. I designed a little bit. It was very gratifying. And it took me here to Italy 2 to 3 times a year, unconditionally, to do my buying and whatnot. And then at that point, my dad had moved back to Italy, to the town he was born in. And so it was a great opportunity to visit family while I was here. And because of that business, my travel business launched.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that, because
That was by accident.
yeah, because that's the craziest thing. I think a lot of times when people start businesses, they're always like sitting there and thinking, I do this for myself, like, hey, I have this idea, I'd like to do this. And like, you tend to just overthink and overdo and like trying to figure out what is that niche and what is that business that will make you money, that you'll enjoy.
Sure.
But what I love about your story, and I think it's not uncommon for a lot of people that have had success, is that you kind of stumbled into it, let's say.
Very true. Yeah, I did stumble into it because it was jewelry clients that said to me, Diana, we want to come to Italy with you. And I laughed it off. And I said, everybody wants to come to Italy with me. Because at that point, right, August was the month of, vacation time. And so I would do my buying for the jewelry, and then I would spend the month of August with my family. And we always had cousins and friends in tow, spending time with my dad. It was, large lunches. It was 17, 18 people at the dinner table every day. Just a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Okay. But they were serious. And they said that to me. They said, Diana, we're serious. If you were to put a trip together, an itinerary, we would come with you. We would pay you. I said, oh, what? You'd pay me to go to Italy? That just seemed so strange, but it was true. And so I said, I'm for the challenge. I know how to navigate. I know the language. I know how to have fun in Italy. So yes. Sure, why not? Okay. And so I put the first trip together, and I thought it would start and stop there, but it didn't, because then they started referring people to me, which again, did not expect. And so for the first 6-7 years, I worked both businesses simultaneously. The tour stuff was pretty much a part-time thing, but the jewelry was full-time. But then the gold market took a twist. Gold shot up to $1,800 an ounce. And so...
Which you were telling me before, it was originally $200.
$289 wow. When I started. Yeah, $289 for an ounce of gold. That same ounce went up to $1,800. Wow. And so that trickled down. The pieces of jewelry now became almost untouchable, very expensive. So the tour thing started to, again, start to take over. And I let myself go in that direction, let's say, because I really loved it.
Yes.
And I do love it.
Yeah. And you were by yourself for how long until you started, let's say, hiring
people? Mm-hmm. Till, let's see, the first person I hired, I think, was about 13 years ago. Yeah, 13 years ago, I hired somebody part-time, but I was still that front person, just doing everything.
Right. You still are.
I still am. Yes, I'm very hands-on.
And like, what I see is that you're always, first of all, it's amazing to see, but like whenever we see each other or meet up, we always make a joke, because you have your phone that's always on you, your phone that is like your client's phones. You have multiple phones. How many? Is it 3 or 2?
Three phones. It's pathetic. Yes, I know.
Why 3? One's your personal.
I know. I have the Italian cell, I have the American cell, and then I have the emergency contact number for the business. And so, yeah, all 3, but that's okay. I'm used to it.
Yes,
It is what it is. Because we're all about service. I'm all about taking care of that client from far away or from nearby, whatever it is, whatever it takes. And I've grown the business without marketing. It's been word of mouth. And I don't really say, okay, next year this year we did XYZ in sales. Now next year we have to do ABC in sales. No, I always say this year there's 1,400 new people talking about us and referring us. Now, next year, let's make it 1,500.
Wow, so that's your KPI. So basically you're basing it on the word of mouth.
Exactly. That's my metric.
Wow.
The sales thing, again, it's secondary for me. And I know that sounds crazy. And there's probably a lot of people out there in business, or let's say people that graduate from business school, saying, oh, this girl's crazy. But no, it's the truth.
That's amazing. Yeah. Because, it's interesting. I don't know if you've heard this. There was an interview that Jeff Bezos did, actually. And he said that every day at Amazon is day one. He treats every day like day one. And the reason behind that is he says he's all about like the client and making sure that the client is happy and putting them first and taking every day as if it's the first day. And I feel like you definitely, by doing that, by you saying word of mouth is your metric and increasing the word of mouth, the only way you achieve word of mouth is by quality of service.
Bravo. Right? Exactly.
So I feel like that's like a huge priority for you. And in the fact that you are the one that's actually even picking up in the event that there's something, some type of a, emergency or something that happens. And just like also the environment you've built around your company and your team as well. I mean, I think that it's a true testament that you're not even having to spend marketing dollars in order to grow your business. It's amazing.
It's very exciting because we've grown consistently every year, anywhere from about 15 to 35%.
Wow.
And about 10, 11 years ago, I remember someone called me and said, "Oh, Diana, I want to plan a trip to Italy with my family. Can you help me?" And I said, "Sure. Who referred you?" Because that's always where it traces back to. And he said, "Who hasn't referred you?"
Oh, wow.
And I said, "What do you mean?" He said,
awesome.
"I know about 5 or 6 people that have used you and can't stop talking about their trips." And I said, "Wow. Okay, we've got something
How
here."
gratifying.
Yeah, very gratifying. And
That's awesome.
I just love that people can see Italy and now, of course, Europe, because we've expanded.
Yes. So you're in which countries?
We do Italy about 75%, but then we also do Greece, Malta, France, Portugal, Spain, Switzerland, the UK.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, even a little bit of Croatia and Slovenia. So
wow. Wow. And we didn't talk about this, but with your, what exactly do you do for your clients? So because I know different types of companies do different things. And I think you have a very niche, like you said, quality aspect. So like you said in the beginning, you started off with the initial tour, let's say, that you didn't anticipate to actually have. You even brought them, I think, to your hometown, right?
I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is amazing because you have this beautiful home. It's a castle,
Well,
right?
It's 300 years old. So
beautiful.
We did a cooking lesson with my aunt, and it was just unforgettable.
Which people don't have. That's the thing about travel. And I've actually spoken to a lot of people my age, but, in different age groups, where what people are missing a lot of the times with travel is actually experiencing what it is like as a local.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
And I feel like that's what they get with you and with booking through you.
That's a good way to think about it. Absolutely. We offer a very full service travel experience. And we literally put pen to paper every single time we talk to a client. We don't resell somebody else's canned tour, okay? It's all custom made. So we're kind of artisans of travel, and we love to be able to promote that and talk about that, because I want to know what makes you tick when you're on vacation. What are you expecting? Some people like fast pace, some people like slow pace. It varies. And so you have to keep in mind that person is probably 5 or 6 or 7,000 miles away from home. And they're in a different time zone, a different culture, different language, everything, right?
Yes.
So it could be a culture shock for some people. And in order to manage that best, you have to get to know your client a little bit, okay? And I always say, if you really want to get to know your friends, travel with them. Oh my goodness.
It's true.
You will.
How many times do you date a person or something when you travel and you're like, okay, this isn't going to work.
Okay, bye-bye. It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
And
you see the best and the worst of people,
correct.
right?
And it brings it out when you're traveling.
Yeah.
And so we're all about balance. We want people to feel as much as possible at home in that foreign country. So if you have activities in the morning, let's leave the afternoon free.
Right.
You might want to take a nap. You might want to sit in a cafe and drink coffee or wine.
Have an Aperol Spritz and aperitivo.
Yes, brava. Or go shopping, discover something new.
Yes.
You're on vacation.
Yes. Not this back-to-back tours and burning people out to the point where you don't even enjoy your travel.
Correct.
That's amazing. I love that. I'd like to go back to, you talked about how you started your business and how it evolved from different businesses, from recruiting, which is obviously we've talked about this before because I also did recruiting.
I know.
and how it's so important for understanding people and the people side, and not only with working with people, but hiring your team. And, then you talked about then going into the jewelry business, and then, Italian Tours by Diana. Did you always know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
Always.
Really?
And I do have to say, I definitely credit my father. He asked me, I was probably 9 years old, and he said to me, do you want to be a leader or a follower? I think I probably looked at him a little cross-eyed at first.
Like, how do you even know what that is at 9?
I know, exactly. And he maybe he expounded upon it, but I said, no, I don't want to follow anybody. I want to be a leader. And he said, brava, good. And I'll never forget that, because I was the kid on the block starting, little clubs and organizing events and, muscular dystrophy carnivals to raise money for muscular dystrophy, things like that. Wow. I was always taking the bull by the horns and running with it, because that was natural to me. Yeah. And I loved it, and I was always in my element. And so,
wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. If you could look back and tell your younger self something, because I think life is interesting. Life is a bit of a roller coaster. And I think you could say this best. It's like peaks and valleys, Yes. It's not always flat. You're not always on a high, and you're not always on a low, which, is also the beauty of life. I'm in my early 30s, and a lot of my friends as well. And, I know a lot of ambitious people. I myself am one. And, I think sometimes then when you look back on life, I'll give you myself, for example, I always had this dream as well of living in Europe, living in Italy. Mm-hmm. Actually, my goal was I would love to work for an American company and launch it internationally in Europe. And that's exactly what I did with Bird. And, now that I'm living it, you kind of forget, oh, wow, this is what I had always wished for and always dreamed for. And now I have other dreams and other ambitions, et cetera. And I'll continue to have others as time goes on. But I'm interested to hear from you on, what would you tell your younger self, when you were in those moments of you have the drive and
Sure.
and it's burning
Mm-hmm.
inside of
Mm-hmm.
you. And so what would you tell yourself?
Don't hold back, and be open to having people help you, because I know that hiring somebody was a huge step for me, because I know how I like things done. Right. I know how I want the client to feel. Is someone else going to be able to take that, learn it, and interpret it? Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. And
keeping that quality.
Quality. Exactly. It's huge. Don't hold back. And I think I had a little bit of an aha moment when I was investing in the jewelry business, because that took some investment, monetary investment.
Right. And you did that all on your own, or did you have investors?
Okay. No, I did it all by myself. And I said to myself, okay, I'm spending this money. And listen, if it doesn't work out and all this jewelry is left over, I can't bring it back. Okay. If I were to lose everything, let me put myself in that scenario for a second. If I were to lose everything, one place I'm very successful with is friends and family. Okay? Let's put aside the success with business. I'm successful with friends and family. Gosh forbid, I lost everything. I didn't have a roof over my head. I didn't have a car to drive. Well, I've got people that will more than willingly, open their door to me.
Right.
I don't want to be that person. Right, I don't want to put myself in that position.
You knew you had a
but I knew I had that support, so to speak. Right. And that's huge, because that can help fuel you. That gives you a warmth and a comfort and a sense of security that many people in this world don't have.
It's true. It's true.
So
that's interesting.
That was my reasoning. Again, it sounds very simple. Again,
it's interesting
from the heart.
It is, and it's interesting because a lot of times maybe people don't start a business because they're like, I'm alone.
For sure.
Right. And in this instance, you actually were alone in the sense that you were investing your own capital.
Yes.
You were taking the risk on your own. It was
Completely.
your risk.
Yeah.
But you knew that if God forbid things went went, belly up or something didn't go as you had planned, at least you knew you had family and friends and a community, which
exactly.
I see that you always flourish those relationships and those friendships, which I think is so important,
Very
even
important.
to this day, right?
Very important. And that is, I think, the true reflection of success.
Awesome.
How many people love you at the end of the day?
Yeah, it's true. That's true. Actually, on that topic of success, like what is success? Because I oftentimes say, me personally, it's not the monetary aspect. To me, it's, being with people you love and having freedom of your own time, because time is the most valuable thing that we can't get back. You can't earn time.
No, you cannot.
And so, there's plenty of people that, have certain types of careers where they don't have a life, or they're not able to actually spend the time doing what they want to do. And to me, that's not really success. It's, being able to do what you want when you want.
Exactly.
To me is success. But
the balance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As someone who, with launching Bird and having to expand internationally, every country has its challenges and every country is very different. I know from like the US, sometimes our leadership tends to say, maybe Spain and Italy are the same, or France and Italy are the same, but no two countries are alike. Actually, within Italy, no two regions.
Brava. I was just going to say that. They're not. Right? They're not. It varies constantly.
What are some, what are the pros and the cons for you in your business, and challenges that you are confronting related to exactly that, these cultural differences? And
definitely. So there's the time change. So again, the office in America's opened, 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Here in Italy, that is 2 p.m. till 11 p.m. Okay. So if there's issues, they usually come up in the morning. And so they don't have anyone to call back at the office.
And you have a team here though too, right?
I do now. Okay. Yes. The last 3 years I've had a team here, which has been amazing. Basically, just again, being available for the client, that was a little bit of a challenge. So I have a 24-hour contact phone number, which helps to smooth things out for emergencies, because there are things that come up in travel. As much as we try to cross our T's and dot our I's for every detail to go smoothly, we can't control a driver getting stuck in traffic and being late, or a guide that wakes up in a crabby mood or something like that. Right. So there are these little things. Or the Vatican decides to close the basilica at 1 p.m.
They tend to do that sometimes.
Oh my goodness, yes. The next year's going to be even worse with the Jubilee. Wow. But that's okay. It is what it is. So these are all the dynamics we have to kind of keep our eyes on.
And navigate.
But my biggest thing, I will be very honest about that, is when I had to announce to my staff in America that I had made this decision to come here to live. That was very difficult, because I saw them not jump up and down and rejoice, oh, our boss is going to be far away. They were worried. They were preoccupied. We're very close. We are kind of like a family. I consider them like a family.
They call you Mamina.
They call some of them call me Mamina, which means mommy. Yes, exactly. I know we have a great.
In English, that sounds a bit weird. Mommy.
I know, mommy.
It's better in Italian.
Yeah, it's better in Italian. But no, we have a wonderful dynamic. I feel very blessed to have them as a team, because they're amazing. So just not being there every day for them. The first 3 years, honestly, that I lived here, I worked from 3 p.m. Italian time till midnight. Okay. So I was on Zoom with them. We connect on Zoom every day. So I was working those hours to be with them constantly. And when I decided to put people here, I had to decide, okay, now how do I divide myself? So I start at 9 a.m. now, Italian time, and I finish at 5:36 p.m. Italian time. So the staff here has me, and the staff there also has me. We overlap a bit. And then I spend, several weeks a year in America at the home office. And so I try to do my best, because I care about them. And I never wanted to be that boss that was absent, that just was behind the scenes counting the money or what have you, and, bossing people around. It's just not me. It's not me. I'm always willing to roll up my sleeves and, get involved, jump in, make it happen, do whatever it takes.
It's so important. Like I feel that people actually feel more committed to their job and to their business and what they're doing when they see that their boss, manager, leader is actually rolling up their sleeves and is like how committed you are. And also this environment that you've created. Like I've said to you as well, I've met members of your team on various different occasions, at your birthday, at your recent wedding, which was, I must say, so beautiful.
Thank you.
You can see how much they love and respect you, and vice versa, how much you love and respect them, and how in sync everyone is.
Correct.
And again, like going back to quality of service, that's like such an important foundation in order for the success of your business.
I agree.
And this aspect of working remotely is not easy, and creating and keeping that same sense of community in that type of environment is not easy. And I know it also with my job. We didn't talk about this, but I'm curious on how COVID, like how did you manage things during COVID? How did that impact your business? How is then coming out of COVID? Because I know the travel industry has been booming since, but I'm curious as to how you kind of navigated through that also with your team.
Sure. Well, we had a phenomenal 2019, and we were walking into 2020 with a phenomenal, year ahead. Mm-hmm. We had about 140 groups booked with deposits and hotels prepaid and all sorts of things booked and prepaid. And then COVID hit. And as you remember, here in Italy, it was very strict. Mm-hmm. The lockdown was never ending. I think we had a lot more vincoli, what's the word? Restrictions than many parts of the world. And navigating that was not easy. And so basically everything got canceled. 2020 was gone down the tubes. Thank goodness for some things that the government put in place that helped, to help support businesses, which was huge. I saved for that rainy day, and I kept my staff employed. And
which not a lot of companies did, and people did.
I know. That's
great.
I couldn't abandon them. Mm-hmm. I just could not. I kept them employed. They had their benefits in place. They had health, everything covered. We worked maybe sometimes 15 hours a week, 20 hours a week. Most of it was canceling what had been already reserved and
booked.
Exactly.
We're hotels and everyone understanding.
No, especially the hotels were awful.
Oh wow!
Many of them. Excuse me. I mean, some gave us vouchers and things, but we had some fights ahead of us. And again, my team was right there doing that. We started a blog. I had time to write a blog. I never have time to write, but we had time to write a blog.
That's
we
awesome.
would like
the COVID hobbies.
Manja Mondays. Thanks to Carla. We had Manja Mondays where we published recipes, and what could we do? We had to stay busy,
Right.
And we were connecting on Zoom every day. And, there was laughter, there were tears, there was everything, lots of emotions. But everyone stood the test of time, and we got back on our feet. 21, the things opened up a little bit. It was nothing like it should have been, but it was a little bit. And then 22 exploded, and nobody was ready. And we ran around like chickens with our heads cut off. For the whole year. It was just crazy.
I imagine kind of like a Wolf of Wall Street, like everyone calling.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was. Well, and not at the beginning of the year, because normally we walk into the year with 100 and some groups already on the books that we worked on from August, September of the previous year. That year, everybody waited. Everybody's like at the edge of the swimming pool, hanging on, wanting to dive in, but they had to wait till the restrictions were lifted.
Oh my gosh!
And that happened in March. So we just got.
And they were like, hey, in a couple months, we would like to go here, there.
Yeah, but I'm thankful. I'm very thankful. So
that's amazing.
Again, back to making people happy. And that's what it's all about.
That's great.
And when the biggest thing for me, when I'm back in Cleveland at our home office, and travelers will stop by after they've come home, they sit down and they say, can we talk to you for a bit? And I'm thinking, oh gosh, is there something wrong? and they start to cry because they were so moved by their experience.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That's beautiful. Just amazing.
That's beautiful.
Absolutely amazing, because then I know that we did something
special
to tug on their heartstrings.
For sure.
We changed something in their brain, something in their vision, something in their hearts forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's a gift.
It's amazing.
That's a huge
it's
gift.
Amazing because not a lot of people get that experience when they travel. You know?
No.
And you hear that through the stories that people tell about their travels, and
yes,
the fact that it brought them to tears.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
More than one person.
That's amazing. Yes. That's super impactful. And even more so, you're having an impact on people's lives and their experiences that are unforgettable, and likely they'll come back to you and say, Diana, we want to do it again.
Exactly. And they do.
That's awesome. That's beautiful.
It's wonderful.
So we talked a bit about how your businesses have evolved and how you got to where you are today. But you didn't stop there. You continued, and you mentioned to me that you had an amazing experience related to olive trees and olive oil, and now you have a successful olive oil business. So first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Second of all, tell me a little bit about how that evolved and how you got to that.
It was a passion. It started out as a passion. I've been fortunate to cook in America, cook in Italy, okay? Because having had homes on both sides for so long, you have that experience. And I would make a dish in America just exactly the way I would make it in Italy, but it didn't come out the same. Yeah. I said, what's going on? Mm-hmm. I'm doing the same thing. I'm the same person. Nothing's changed. Right. It's the ingredients. Just the freshness here, the premium quality is amazing. Mm-hmm. I always tell people this. They say, well, give me an example. I say, okay, if I buy carrots back in America, I can keep them in the refrigerator for about 2 months.
Yes,
they don't change.
It's true.
If I buy carrots here in Italy and I don't use them in about 5 or 6 days, they start to go bad.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever seen a carrot go bad in America. So I say, well, what's going on behind the scenes? So there's some
scary, actually.
It is a little bit scary. Yeah. And, there's just different practices. Yes. Okay. So my mother was from Puglia, which is one of the 20 regions here in Italy. It's a long, skinny region, kind of like the state of Florida. Mm. It even has a panhandle, Gargano. Okay, right? It does. True. Lots of genuineness, and most of the olive trees that are growing here in Italy are in Puglia. They are one of the leaders of producing olive oil, and they produce great olive oil and they produce some not so great olive oil. Just depends on how the olives are handled, because that's what it comes down to. Growing up, until my mom was alive, we visited Puglia, we visited her relatives, and I just remember the food being so amazing down there, and the olive oil very striking, very unforgettable. And then, unfortunately, my mother passed when I was only 20, and we didn't go back to visit the relatives for a really, really long time. So those tastes, those aromas, this essence of food and cooking and all that was a little bit put on the back burner. And then about 6 years ago, I went to my dad's hometown where I have a home, and my aunt called me aside and said, hey, come and taste this olive oil we have. And I said, okay. And I tasted it, and it pretty much brought me to my knees, brought me to tears, because it brought me right back to being in Puglia with my mother.
Wow. That's amazing.
And it was something that all of a sudden was revived again. And I said, oh my gosh, Zia, where can I get this olive oil? Where did it come from? And she said, this is a colleague of my daughter's who has trees in Puglia, and he sells it off wholesale to somebody up north, but he keeps about 4 or 5% and sells it to friends and family. And if you want, we can get some. I said, absolutely. And that put into perspective something for me, because I had already previously been thinking that I would love to find an amazing olive oil and share it with people back in America, because it's hard to find something so exceptional like that, because olive oil is not all created equally. And then I met the love of my life, and
who's from Puglia.
And unfortunately, the person that I had tasted their olive oil wasn't set up to bottle it like we needed it. So we had to find another source. And the love of my life, he brought me to a source that has helped us, partnered with us, and we now have an award-winning olive oil that is amazing. And we're waking up people's taste buds and their senses to something that's not that easy to find.
Of course. I mean, I'm not so familiar with the olive oil business, so excuse my naiveness, but my understanding is also olive oil in the United States is oftentimes mixed with other things. It's not 100% olive oil. Is that correct?
Not just in the United States. Unfortunately, the industry doesn't have a lot of regulations.
Oh, okay.
And it needs more regulations.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And as a result, for example, in Tuscany, I love Tuscany, but only 2% of the olive trees in Italy grow in Tuscany.
Wow.
But if you look at on the market, how many olive oils are called Tuscany this, Tuscany that.
I think it's like 80% or something like that.
Easily, because just you need to only put maybe 2 or 3% olive oil, Italian olive oil, or use Italian olives, and you can mix it with anything else you want and call it Italian, number one. Number two, I remember our first harvest, because we have several, almost 1,000 trees now, our own in Puglia. Hands-on harvest. Someone came by and said, "Hey, we have a shipment going to Tuscany. Are you interested?" And I said, "What?"
What do you mean?
What do I mean? That Tuscany, there's people there that are buying the olives from Calabria, from Puglia, from the places where they're abundant, and making it their own olive oil and calling it Tuscan olive oil. That's what happens. So there's
sneaky.
Yeah, exactly. So I've been so fortunate to learn so much. I've become an olive oil sommelier. I love it. I absolutely love it. And in addition to it being an art, there is a true technology behind it.
Is there?
Yeah, absolutely.
How so?
So basically, that olive that is gaining nutrients from the tree, once it's taken from the tree, that's where it takes a turn. It starts to lose its nutrients, its source of energy, etc. And so it starts to diminish, let's say, okay? It's not going to go bad overnight, but
the quality
it starts to diminish. And depending on in which environment it's kept will dictate, is it going to go rancid? Is it going to get musty smelling or have mold or what have you? Because it's a delicate item, very delicate. It's easily bruised. Once it's bruised, it can start to again turn and go rancid. So you have to handle it with care. It used to be that as long as the olives went to the mill within like 48 hours, it's fine. You could call it, extra virgin olive oil. You're all good, etc. from the time that it's taken from the tree. Then the industry standard said, no, it's better 24 hours. So 24 hours from the time that it's harvested, it needs to go to the mill to be pressed to create something good. Then it came down to about 6 hours.
Oh, wow.
I'm proud to say that our olives, 90 minutes after they come off the tree, are being pressed.
That's amazing. And
that's why we've won so many awards. Dubai, Japan, London, New York. It's so gratifying because it's just, I guess it's reassuring that we have something beautiful, genuine, delicious that people can enjoy and pass on to friends and family.
How beautiful. And it's like you've done this with your heart.
Totally with my heart.
That's amazing. You could tell. And that's beautiful. And it's beautiful that it has such a special meaning to you as well. And that it's become such a success. You've won 13
awards in 2 years. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
It's very exciting.
How wonderful. How can people find your olive oil?
Oh, online.
Online?
Yeah. Domus Pacis, which means House of Peace. Domus Pacis olive oil.
Oh, yeah. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. How can I know when I go to a store, actually, to this point that you're saying, if it says Tuscan olive oil, how do I know if it's, is it written on there? Do they have to write on there if it's a percentage of
They're
somewhere?
supposed to. Basically, it's enough to say Italian olives or Greek olives or Tunisian olives or Moroccan olives, or Turkish olives. So anything that the price is too good to be true, that it's just mixed. It's a blend of all sorts of, different olives collected from different sources. If the olive oil is in a clear bottle, stay clear of it. Stay away from it.
If it's in a clear bottle?
Because it'll be
because the sunlight it ruins it.
The light,
The
light will make the olive oil go bad fast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you want it in a dark bottle, you want it in a cool place. And it's interesting because in the supermarkets, they have a tendency to put the more expensive olive oil on the top shelf. And that's where most of the light is.
Right.
And that's where it's warmer. So those are two things that work against preserving the olive oil.
Wow.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
So there's so many technical details, but I love it. I'm so happy to be part of that industry. Now we're moving to Puglia, and so
that's awesome.
I can't wait to just even be more involved in it.
That's awesome.
There's a lot of opportunities there.
That's great. That's great. I know a dream of yours has always been to have a villa with olive trees, right? And I think seeing you and seeing your life and how it's evolved, to me, you truly are someone that you want something and you go and you get it. How did you achieve this with now buying this beautiful villa in Puglia that you're renovating, right?
Yes, we are.
And you have olive trees in your
we
yard.
Do.
How many trees do you have personally in this house?
Almost 1,000.
Okay.
So there were 300 there already, but we've planted more.
Okay.
And we're continuing to plant because we do have more land. And it's just so gratifying, and watching these baby trees grow up to be something and be fruitful is so gratifying. It's just really, I think, wanting to immerse ourselves in something peaceful.
Which olive trees and olive branches are actually
totally
a sign of peace, right?
A major symbol of peace. And that's why Domus Pacis, which means house of peace in Latin, just really something that resonates with me in a very, very big way, because I'm very sensitive to having an environment of peace in my workplace, in my home, with friendships, with, family, all across any sort of connection that I have. Yeah. I want that to always be the basis. That's important for me.
I love that. That's important because, to what we were kind of saying earlier, that there's like the ebbs and flows of life.
Yes.
I have a cousin, Madalena, she said something to me. She said, whenever I wish someone like happy birthday or happy anniversary or something, I don't wish them lots of love. Of course I do, she said. But what I wish them is tanta serenita.
Brava. Sí.
Because ultimately, if you have that, then the rest is
for sure
is good.
Exactly.
As long as you have the serenita.
It gives you the balance. It gives you just the fortitude to make the right decisions, to think clearly, to treat others well. It goes a long way.
Right. That's amazing.
It really goes a long way.
It's true. It's true. I wanted to ask you too a little bit about on a more personal note. So we've talked in the past about this. I obviously look up to you as a beautiful, successful, a genuine, authentic woman. And
likewise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One thing we haven't talked about yet was love and personal aspects. So I'll start off by saying, which I kind of mentioned earlier, you just recently got married less than a month ago.
A month tomorrow.
Oh my gosh. Well, happy almost 1 month anniversary.
Thank you. It's been lovely.
And you had a beautiful wedding in a castle in Puglia in Lecce,
yes.
Right? It was amazing, an amazing wedding.
Thank you.
And so much love and so much detail. And you had a lot of family and friends that you've been mentioning before, that you've kept these relationships for so many years and throughout the years. But I'm so happy to see you happy with Francisco. He's amazing.
Thank you. He is.
And we've talked about this a little bit in the past because obviously I've come to you also for advice. And, as I mentioned, I look up to you. How do you navigate through, and how did you navigate through life on the aspect of love and relationships and dating while being such an ambitious and successful woman? Because my experience has been that not every man is okay with being with a successful, ambitious woman. So how did you navigate through
Thank you. Yeah. So it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. And I met my share of toads. Let's say princes and toads.
Did you kiss the toad? Did he turn into a prince?
No. And that's okay. It wasn't meant to be, because I do believe that, there's things out there in the universe that when the timing is right, it will come to fruition. And when it's not, it won't. It takes a very confident man to be able to be at the side of a confident, strong, and successful woman, let's say. Okay. And not all men want to do that. And that's okay. Right. It is what it is. Sometimes there has to be a little bit of the follower and the leader and the follower in a love relationship. I've had men in the past say to me, I'm afraid that you'll make more money than me someday. Like, who cares, really?
Right.
Because if we were in a marriage, what's yours is mine, and mine is yours. I mean,
you're in a partnership,
right? It's a partnership. So why should that be an issue? To voice that is kind of crazy. Or people that say, I want someone who stays at home and takes care of the home and has a hot meal for me when I'm coming home from work. And, so everyone has different wants and desires. I think with Francesco and I, for example, the first time we ever spoke on the phone, it was about almost a 4-hour conversation. We didn't talk about work. I didn't know what he did. He didn't know what I did.
Oh, wow. In 4 hours?
That didn't come up in 4 hours.
Oh, wow.
We talked about us, our culture, our history, our loves, our dislikes, whatever. But it was the next conversation that it came out like, oh, by the way, I do this, and oh, I do that. But he never asked me the name of my company.
Interesting.
He didn't care.
Wow.
That says a lot.
For sure.
It says a lot to me, because he didn't just go in the same mundane direction as most people would. It's natural. It is. You're curious about someone. He was curious about my heart and me and my brain. And where do you want to be? What do you want to do in terms of a relationship, a connection? And that's hard to find. It took me a lifetime. I was already in my 50s when I met him. So, but I'm so thankful every single day for him, because he has always been able to remind me of the simple things in life. Things that are important are just, the love, the family, the friends, good health, a happy home.
That's amazing.
And that's what it comes down to. So it's just finding someone who's going to be on the same page as you are at the same time.
Yeah.
Timing's everything.
Right. It is everything.
It really is.
And how do you know if they are actually, because you talked about, I guess I can answer that question myself. You talked about how he didn't ask you about what's the name of your business, and he didn't talk about that from the get-go. I guess my first question would be, do you think that that's common in Italy versus the US? Like, do you think that, because in the US, I find that sometimes you'll meet someone and they'll be like, oh, hi, I'm so-and-so. I'm a lawyer.
Yeah.
And that's the first
identity. Right. Exactly.
Whereas in Italy, it happens, but it happens a bit less. Do you think that was a bit cultural, or do you think that this was truly Francesco that was unique?
I think a little bit of both. I do think it's truly Francesco, because I've met people here that ask me how much I make every year.
Oh, that's true.
They don't hold back. In America, I don't think they would ask that so readily.
True.
But here in Italy, you know,
That's
it's
true.
pretty transparent. You know how it is. Someone hasn't seen you for a while, and they're like, "Oh, you've lost weight. Oh, you've gained weight." You know, they don't hold back on those things.
That happened to me in the hometown. It was so funny because, like, you know, they obviously don't have a filter, and so you know, the average Italian salary for our, you know, American listeners, it ranges, but you know, 1,500 to 2,000 a month, something like that. And so my cousin was like, you know, you make at least 1,500, right? I was like, how does he have the audacity to ask in front of people, you know? Yeah. So, but yeah, you're right. They do. They say you've gained weight, you look good, you don't look good. Which has its pros and cons.
It's true.
But yeah, it's true. It's true.
I mean, a little bit, again, cultural. It really depends on the person. Yeah. That wasn't important for him. You know, evaluating, I think, our connection didn't come into play for him. And I didn't volunteer it. So I thought, no, this is going in such a beautiful direction.
That's awesome.
It really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, all that matters is that deeper connection that you guys have anyways.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
But it does take a secure man.
Totally.
It does, because you said, you know, earlier that there was someone that had said, you know, I'm afraid you'll make more money than me one day. Like that's an insecure man. That would
very
say
insecure.
Something like that.
Totally.
And you know, things have changed. Times have changed. There are plenty of households in which, you know, the women are the breadwinners, and there's plenty of households where men still are the breadwinners. And there's some where both are, you know, extremely successful. But you know, what I've noticed is there can be men that initially will say things like, I'm looking for a successful woman. I'm looking for someone who isn't going to depend upon me and has their own life and their own income. And that's really what I'm looking for. And then over time, it's like, oh, wait, this woman actually has her own life. I'm not the center of her universe, let's say, when it comes to, you know, work and day-to-day things. Of course, you know, partnership is different. And oh my gosh, she actually has an opinion. Yeah.
And how am I going to deal with that?
Yeah. Yes. And like, it's so interesting to see, because it's like, I think a lot of people think that that's what they want, but then over time they see that it comes with its pros and its cons.
Of course.
And you mentioned this earlier before we started, like sacrifice, you know, also a bit of sacrifice. I mean, for yourself who, you do have, you know, a busy schedule. Obviously, like you said, the quality of service for your clients is your top priority. So with doing that, you have time commitments and you make it a priority in your life, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm sure that takes a lot of like sacrifice and also communication within your relationship.
Immense patience from your partner, for sure. Especially now that he's entered into retirement.
Oh, yes. When did he retire?
He retired the end of July.
Oh, wow.
And so thank goodness we have all these trees that need care. So. You know, awesome. But we keep busy because we are a priority for each other, and we both know where our hearts are, and it's so gratifying. It's so, how can I say it? It keeps me grounded. It keeps me happy. It keeps me thankful. Definitely thankful. Yeah.
It's important to remain grateful and thankful, right?
Yeah. You can't forget. You can't take it for granted ever. You just can't. And that if all material things, all comfort in terms of, you know, wealth and material goods, etc., were to be taken away, we have each other.
Yes.
And we have each other, and we would survive, you know?
That's beautiful.
Again, he has a beautiful family. Like I have a beautiful family. He has beautiful friends. I have beautiful friends. They would all be willing to take us in.
Yeah.
If they had to.
Vieni mangiare, come
and eat. Especially in Puglia. Oh, mamma mia. You know, it's never lacking.
You're going to need a workout routine in Puglia.
Oh, we are. That's a gym. We're going to
join. Are you going to put a gym?
Yeah. Well, we are going to have this little workout area at the house, but until the house is ready, we are joining a gym.
Because in Puglia, it's easy to eat.
Yes. It's hard not to.
The food is good in all of Italy.
Yes, exactly.
Do you think you'll ever move back to the U.S. or?
I can't imagine. It's very different. That's so funny you pose that question, because I kind of asked myself in my head, I asked you that question because I was curious, you know.
Yes, it's a question I'm toying with often.
I know you are. And you made the move here at a much younger age.
Yes.
I was more mature when I made the move. Yes. So for me, this is it. But you still have so much of your life ahead of you. So, but if you were to move back to the States, you could always move back again here. Right, so it's, you have those options.
Yeah, it's tough. I think you know it having, you mentioned in the beginning of like coming from Italian parents that, you know, were born in Italy, being raised in the United States. It's this constant cycle of like living life in the US, spending summers in Italy. And then like for me specifically, I then went to college for 2 years in Rome and then went back to the US. Mm-hmm. Then I came here for work. And then now I'm like, should I go back? So it's like I'm in this constant loop, but I love a combination of both. Like,
that's
my ideal world is obviously a combination of both. You know, opportunity wise, business wise,
for sure.
You know, we know the US, there's more opportunities. Not that there aren't in Italy and in Europe, there definitely are, but things are a bit easier to navigate through the US. I mean, we didn't talk about this, but like the bureaucratic aspects in Italy are tough.
Yes.
You know, if you want to, I don't know if, you haven't seen this, I think, but Emily in Paris, the show, it's cute because she's now moving to Rome actually from Paris. And there's all these like funny memes and things on social media where people are like, oh yeah, good luck, Emily. You're going to be spending hours and hours in line at the questura for your permesso di soggiorno because it's like not an easy thing, you know, whereas, you know, I lived in Amsterdam for a bit of time, and in Amsterdam, you go there, you pick a number, and you get your, let's say, visa to stay there. So, but the beautiful part about Italy, as you know, is the quality of life.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
I mean, I got to Rome yesterday, as we were saying, and like it just feels it feels amazing walking the streets and seeing all the people and going out and having aperitivo and just this quality of life. I mean, differently also with work, I see it with the company that I work for that's international. Like in the US, if you go out on vacation, people are still writing you and, you know, calling you. Here, if you go out on vacation, people don't bother you.
It's true. It's true.
So it has this like aspect of quality of life. That's great. But from the business side, et cetera, I think you found the perfect niche, right? You know,
I feel like I did. Yeah. And you're right. The bureaucracy here, the red tape, it's enough to make you go stir crazy. Yeah. So you do have to really, as I tell my clients, you know, that are departing, don't forget your passport.
Yes.
Don't forget your toothbrush. Yes. And don't forget a huge dose of patience. Pack it with you. Bring it with you. Be flexible. You have to. And in life in general, you have to be flexible, but especially when you're traveling, because things don't always go the way that they need to go. Of
course. Travel's an adventure.
Completely. It is an adventure and you need to embrace it. And also expectations.
Oh, yes.
You know, if it's not meeting your expectations, change your expectations because it is what it is, you know. So you can't just amp it up in your mind to be something maybe that it's not. Yes. Or
they actually say expectations are not good, so maybe don't have it.
Correct. Exactly.
I don't know if you've heard this, but actually, I don't know if this is true or not, but they say that the Japanese, when they go to Paris, there's actually within the Japanese embassy in Paris, there's like some type of a therapy session, because a lot of people that come from Japan to Paris, and they've made it up to be this like, you know, very clean, immaculate, beautiful city, because in Japan, you don't even find a wrapper.
Right.
People take their wrappers home with them. They don't throw them out. That people are a bit traumatized because they have this expectation that, you know, Paris is something and then it's completely different.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Yeah. That's interesting. Well, isn't it in Japan where they have those, like, there's like a storefront where you can go in and someone will like hug you or something? Is it Japan?
I don't know.
Oh, gosh. I can't remember.
And what do they do?
They hug you. Like they hug you and they comfort you.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's not sexual or anything. It's just purely to like ease you, to put you at ease.
Interesting.
Where is that? Someone just told me that. Oh, Mama Mia.
It could be Japan.
It'll come to me. It could be.
Oh, that's interesting. Consoling them.
Yeah, consoling them.
That's nice. That's nice. In Italy, they're like,
Yeah,
I'm kidding. No, in Italy, it's about the food. It's about like, that is their way of consoling. I saw it with like my grandpa, like if, you know, he owns a restaurant, etc.
Yes,
if there was anything
delicious
going
restaurant.
on in the family, or if anyone was going, if someone had passed or something, it was like, come sit at the table,
Oh, yeah.
let's eat.
Oh, yeah. Well, they say too, I remember when my mother passed and my sister's mother-in-law and aunts, my grandmother from Italy, everybody was ascending upon the house, and they were just busy in the kitchen cooking and cleaning, and they said you have to keep the heart of the kitchen of the home warm, and that's the kitchen. You have to keep it going in a time like this. I wanted to smack them all silly and just say, get out, I want to cry, you know, but
that's beautiful.
Yeah, but that's the idea. Keep the kitchen going and
the heart of the home.
The heart of the home. Mm-hmm.
And keep it warm.
Keep it warm.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
So not always easy to embrace when you're, you know, mourning, but at the end of the day, when you look back, it makes a lot of sense.
Yes. And going back to that, like family and community and that support system.
Always. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Exactly. So one of the things that is so important, I think, in my work, but also in life in general, is transparency. Okay. When I'm preparing travelers for departure, I always want to let them know, okay, so you're going from a 4-star luxury hotel in Venice, for example, to a small kind of mom and pop 3-star in the heart of Tuscany. There's a difference. You're not going to have the same amenities. Not because I'm trying to down the quality of your trip. You're getting something very authentic, because that same 4-star luxury hotel you find in Venice, you're not going to find in the heart of Tuscany, typically, okay, in a small town. There are resorts, etc. But just because you're going to have a variety of experience, and you're not going to be shocked or disappointed or surprised if I tell you this now, if things are a little different. Yeah. I personally don't like surprises. Like, don't throw me a surprise party, because I'm just not into it. I just don't want it. But, you know, so that's why, again, transparency in all areas of life, work, home, business, everything.
So important.
So important. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm sure your clients really appreciate that too.
I hope so. Yeah. I hope so. Yeah.
Because like we talked about, travel is already an adventure in and of itself. And there's so many surprises that happen along the way. So of course they appreciate that transparency from you, right?
I think so.
Yeah. And that authentic aspect, it's a special touch that you have.
Thank you. Lends itself well.
Yes. I love that. Well, anything else you'd like to say or that we should talk about?
Again, I'm very honored to be part of this with you.
Thank you.
I have immense respect, love, and admiration for you.
Thank you.
And I know the sky. Thank you. I know the sky's the limit.
Thank you.
The world is your oyster, as you know, cliquey as that sounds, whatever cliche as it sounds. It truly is. And, you know, just I wish you all the best of everything.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy that you agreed to be on the show.
Thank you.
And I hope that I can have you back as a guest once we're on episode whatever it is, 100, and I have thousands and hopefully millions of followers.
Exactly.
But,
I love it.
But I really am so grateful, and it was so great to talk to you. And
thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm wishing you all the best of love, serenità,
and grazie.
And success and love.
Thank you. Same to you.
Grazie.